Hello everyone, and welcome to another lesson in rhythm. Today we're going to be talking about polymeter. Now, polymeter is super cool. It's when you have two meters happening at once. And so if you're going along in one meter and switch to another, that's different. Whereas this is just one is happening, it keeps happening, and another happens on top of it, or two start at the same time. And to give you an example of that, I'm going to count everything in four, but let's say we have a one meter that isn't four. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and another that's in three. So if counting in three, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If I do them at the same time, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's essentially all polymeter is. It's rather straightforward, but if you do longer ones, it can be really interesting, and especially if you mix up the pattern a little bit. A lot of modern progressive metal, also known as djent, is based on the idea of polymeters. A lot of the band Meshuggah, their music involves polymeters and things going around. In their case, a lot of times there is a constant four pulse of some kind, and things just moving in weird ways around it. So, yeah, there's not much else to say about it. And so to make this slightly more of a worthwhile lesson, I'm just going to go over some of the things that can be done with it and some examples of things that have used it. If you listen to any post-minimalist music, the things that immediately jump to my mind are the Time Curve Preludes by William Duckworth, most of the music of Michael Rouse, who is fantastic, the music of my composition professor, Kyle Gann, some of that involves polymeter. If that stuff is all really interesting and not at all like the progressive metal I mostly listen to, except for the fact that it's exactly like it. It's just, hey, delicate strings instead of Meshuggah. Now, additionally, like I said, Meshuggah does it, Periphery, Tesseract, all these modern progressive metal bands. You also have plenty of jazz that will make use of it, modal jazz and avant-garde jazz. Nothing jumps into my mind right away, though I know some of the music of my piano teacher, John Esposito, especially what he's done with another bard professor, Pete O'Brien, has polymeters and has things where one of them will go into a different meter than the other, and it's cool shit, and you should check it out. So anyway, some things you can do to make it more interesting is, a simple way to do it, and now I'm pretty much talking just to my metalheads because this is kind of the music I write, and so I'm speaking from my perspective, is you might have, the hands will play a straight 4/4 type thing. Maybe it'll just be cymbal, cymbal and snare, or just cymbal, snare, or some type of pattern like, cymbal, 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 snare. And then the feet will be going along in something where it's like, da da da, da da da, da da da. I tapped twice and said three da da das. You get the point. But you're putting something in, like, in that case it was kind of a 6, da da da, da da da. And that would be a very straightforward way to play your polymeter. But then what you might also do is maybe have something that comes in on the first beat of every 4 count and the first beat of every, in that case, 6 count, so that you have something that's moving a little bit, or maybe you have something that's intricately involved in one pattern. It is part of a 5/8 pattern, but at the same time you're using it to mark the start of a 4/4 pattern, which means that you're automatically getting these slight variances on when your rhythms are and are not getting played. Yeah, and that's really my entire suggestion is just, you can play it in the straightforward, this plays in 4, this plays in 5, or 3, or 7, or 12, or whatever. But then what you can do is have one thing that's playing in both 4 and 7 at the same time, which makes the music a little less predictable, a little more you can still hear the order to it, but it stops being quite so straightforward, and that makes it a little more interesting, in my opinion. Anyway, I've filled up plenty of your time now babbling about how awesome polymeters are. They are basically the coolest. Frosty the Snowman got nothing on them. And yeah, so hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I hope you come back to the channel soon. Bye-bye.